So I'll start off with introducing Deepa Santhosh, who many of you will know because she's a very active tweeter and probably on all sorts of other social media as well. She's a student midwife doing her pre-reg masters in midwifery at Oxford Brookes. She's also a birth educator, doula, hypnobirthing practitioner and breastfeeding specialist. She started her career as the first doula and birth activist in Chennai, India in 2009, then moved here to London in 2011. And she's worked for over 10 years, in maternity care and infant feeding, including leading the Baby Friendly project for London Trust. And she's particularly interested in optimizing normality in maternity care using quality improvement techniques to enhance every family's experience of maternity services. But we've introduced her, invited her here to talk about some little activity she got up to over the last few months. So Deepa, welcome.
Thank you, Sue. That was an amazing introduction.
Not at all. I know that you started a campaign. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what started it.
It was June, and it was way near 30 degrees, and I was in community at that point in time, and I had my cold water bottle with me, and I was seeing how much water we were drinking, and then it really struck me that when I was on delivery suite, I always saw that the water bottles were outside and not in the rooms. And in a previous experience as well, this was something that midwives on delivery suite always said, that they could not take their water bottles inside when they were facilitating about supporting a mum. And then I just asked around my friends, my classmates, and they did confirm to me that no, they could not take their water bottle inside. And many of them were struggling with thirst, feeling tired, urinary tract infections and things like that. That's what actually triggered the campaign, because I heard from quite a few of them saying they could not have something as basic as water to drink.
And it does sound really basic, doesn't it? So, I mean, how did you go about starting it?
So what I did was, I love Twitter. So I ran a survey on Twitter, and over 200 student midwives responded to it, which shocked me, but it was just a small survey, and about 50% of them said, no, we don't have access to drinking water. I did the same thing on Facebook and other social media networks, and I got shocking messages. A newly qualified midwife who is actually on the postnatal ward, messaged me to say there was obviously a long postnatal ward. They weren't allowed to have bottles, in the midwife station or anywhere, only in the staff room. And there were only 4 people who could be in the staff room at one point of time. So throughout the entire 12-hour shift, she didn't have any water. She had time off because of UTIs. She was very scared of getting another one and started experiencing flank pain and was worried about her kidneys.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, so these were the sort of, I even had messages from midwives sending me the picture of their bottle and how much they managed to drink, like 100 mils over the whole shift. Gosh. So these were shocking messages. One person said that the bottles that were outside the rooms were taken away and kept, and they were told they can only keep it in their bags in the staff room. So across the country, I received a number of messages that said exactly the same thing.
Gosh, that's amazing. I mean, I've heard of, I heard something there was a discussion on Twitter a few days ago where someone said they had their water bottle. I have mine to illustrate. These are very good. They keep it nice and cold, but no good if you're not allowed to take them with you. But someone said, my bottle was taken away because the person in charge decided I shouldn't have any water. So they threw the bottle away. And then there's a whole flurry of people saying, yes, that happened to me. And yes, it was my own bottle. It was one of these, they're not tuppence halfpenny, but some people have an ordinary plastic bottle, whatever. But that's, yeah.
It's extraordinary.
So So what was your next step after you had all this data? And I just imagine you tippy tapping all with you. I don't know if you used spreadsheets or anything like that.
Well, I was really upset, and I was constantly thinking about it. I started tweeting a series of tweets to first of all tell people that the water is their right. It's a human right, and it's of utmost importance that they need it, and they can't take no for an answer. It was almost like advocating for midwives. We need to start with ourselves first. So I highlighted what dehydration can cost. You can lose your cognitive abilities. One person messaged me to said she actually collapsed in the room. She didn't have any water. So I started doing a series of Twitter tweets, and then I decided to write a letter. So I formally put it in writing, and I wrote about all of this to the RCM. I wrote to Professor Jacqueline Dunkley-Bent, the Chief Midwifery Officer, also wrote to CQC and NHS England. Because normally the reasons that people tell you is, well, the CQC does not want us to have water bottles everywhere, or they would say it's an infection control risk. And particularly during COVID, they said that, well, you having to take your mask off, so you cannot have water in the room. So then I went about the task of negating each one of those reasons. The CQC was very good. They tweeted straight away to say that they encourage all healthcare professionals, midwives, nurses, to have water with them throughout their shift. Professor Jacqueline Dunkley-Bent wrote to me to say that she was aggrieved to hear of this, and she put out a statement. RCM followed that. They put out a statement as well, because in their survey last year, it was exactly the same thing. More than 50% of midwives said that they were dehydrated throughout the shift. So what happened from that letter was that at the top level, people started putting out these statements. I also shared my letter with everyone so they could use it. So some student midwives actually took copies of those letters and gave it to their ward managers to tell them why it's really important that they have their water bottles with them and they need them.
Right, okay. That sounds like a lot of work and a lot of activity, and you weren't being fobbed off with anything, Deepa.
No, it's scary. You can get all sorts of responses, but once you have that fire that this is something really basic, it's a human right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many people, not knowing what to do about it. And it's actually their health and safety. I mean, as an employer, every trust has a responsibility. They can't say no to that. And that was what I was trying to reiterate. In fact, my own academic lead, she was amazing. As soon as she heard about it, she wrote immediately to the ward manager. And surprisingly enough, generally the senior people like ward managers, matrons, they don't know about it. And she was quite shocked that this was happening. And immediately we got an email, all staff and students, we got an email saying, absolutely, you can take your water with you wherever you are, whether on delivery suite or postnatal ward. So it was quite rewarding.
Yeah. So how about, well, I'd say, what do you think the impact has been throughout? Do you think if you did a survey now, do you think you'd be finding the same thing? In maternity. Because I think you've concentrated your activities very much, and you chose the people brilliantly to kind of really spearhead the initiative through. And as I said, it can sound like it's a basic human right, and it's a bit surprising that people were being refused water. And you kind of think, well, where's that come from? Is it because we as midwives mustn't be seen like normal humans that might need a drink or something to eat or going to the loo or all the things that humans have to do?
It's really strange. Sometimes I think it's the culture of the place where you're working at. Sometimes it can be like a power thing. And I believe in flat hierarchies. I believe in compassionate leadership. And something as basic as water is quite stupendous to think, how can you deny a person who's working 13-hour shifts, water at there for their needs. So yes, it was quite shocking. It's quite basic, but I'm really glad that statements were put out, and I hope that it has made an overall impact on people, midwives, student midwives, nurses even, because the same thing, can have their water.
I think you're going to have to be harnessed by our nursing colleagues also, and our medical colleagues, because I think that's where the tweet yesterday, a couple of days ago, I saw. But I mean, okay, I'll put you on the spot now, Deepa. What next?
There are lots of basic issues. We all know that in maternity. I'd like to control what we can, at what we're doing at our level. Things like, wearing the right shoes. And that's, again, something that I'm really passionate about. It's compared to actually being on a marathon, like the shifts that we do, the number of steps, like 20,000 steps. And the right shoes are really important. I'm very fortunate where I train, we're allowed to wear, running shoes, absolutely no problem. Of course, it has to be a certain color and things like that. But it is really important because your feet, they can, be so painful, and wearing the right shoe makes a big difference. That would be another issue.
Well, I think that's as a Pisces, I'm always concerned with my feet. It's one of the things about Piscean. So Pisceans out there, listen to Deepa and her feet message, because it is really important. And it sounds like something that could be carried forward brilliantly. Thank you so much.